Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on Rise News, and it's time to take a look at the newspapers now, headlines, especially on the front pages. Let's bring in Kola Lakpini, an international human rights lawyer, and Sunday Isua, Group News Editor, Leadership Newspaper. Both of them join us here this morning. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. It's good to have you again. But let's start today's review from this day newspaper. The front page, very interesting story there. Ahead of emergency rule expiration, Ibas says he has fulfilled Tinubu's mandate in Rivers State. And of course, recapitalization with 200 days to deadline. Banks intensify effort to scale hurdle. Let me start with you, Kola. I mean, of course, we talked about the fact that, the just few days to the expiration, and this has quite a lot of expectation. And what is going to happen next? Is Fubara coming back, or will he agree? Because there's been rumors sometimes that whether it was considering. Some people were saying, you better, be wise about this decision, whether to take it or not, because the political structure in the state has been totally taken over by, the group loyal to his godfather, supposed godfather. So that's the conversation. So how do you think this will play out post-emergency rule?
Well, I think politicians say one thing and they do the other. I know there was one video of him, I think it was at a church, where he was saying people should not push him back to the seat. Have they even asked him what he wants, if that's what he wanted? Well, he signed up for the job. He volunteered himself. And up till now, he hasn't resigned. Because if he didn't want the job, he could have resigned, even though, he was removed unceremoniously for the state of emergency. So I think by conduct, he wants to go back. And if he does go back, we'll be able to see the different dynamics going on in the state. He has eventually...
because the question is, has Rivers State truly stabilized? We saw what play out during the election, and of course, some people have said, look, even the election does not truly reflect the will of the people. They've been accused, kind of that agreement, kind of deals, and some underground agreements, was what played out during the election. Again, the question is, can we say that peace has truly returned to Rivers State?
Yeah, but the peace that was threatened in Rivers State was not so endangered as to bring in a former military man as an administrator. I don't think it got to that level at all. I think whatever was happening in Rivers State, if the president had acted more swiftly, it would have been avoided, and it would have degenerated to the level which we saw. But even then, it wasn't so. It wasn't violence on the level of what we see in Plateau State. Not violence enough from what we see in Benue. So why didn't the president declare state of emergency in those two places where people were being killed in the hundreds daily? So even the declaration of state of emergency was shady in the first place. It was deeply flawed. I don't see anything that Ibas has done that is extraordinary, apart from probably sharing money to people and making them keep quiet. If the real issues in Rivers State are not properly dealt with, then I don't think it has moved an inch.
Let's move and take a look at the next story there. Recapitalization with 200 days to deadline. The banks intensify effort to scale hurdle. We'll talk about the bank. The fact that vote of confidence is passed on Nigerian banks. If you look at how strong the bank institution is now today, some people have praised the fact that this is due to the reforms in the bank. But I still want to keep you on this day. I'll bring in Sunday on another paper so we can run quickly. But I need you to comment on this, Kola.
You're talking about the capitalization of the banks and everything. Well, if it makes the banks stronger and keeps us away from bank collapses, I am one for capitalization of the banks. I think if we have a few banks that are solid, and you can go to bed with both eyes closed, knowing that your funds are safe. The challenge is when you have all this proliferation of banks and people flaunting banking regulations and lending money without collateral, it portends a huge danger to everyone.
All right. Let me bring you on the Punch newspaper now. If you can pull up the Punch newspaper. Indicted Peace Corps pilot cabin crew. NSIB lied. We don't drink alcohol, smoke marijuana because regulators reject smear campaign claim. That video, before we came on talking about these headlines, I mean, we saw the video reacting to the co-pilot and, of course, a member of the cabin crew. They were reacting to the claim by NSIB. I need you to bring in on this one. In terms of regulatory oversight, I need you to talk about this. We have NCAA, you have NSIB. Speak to us. How well have they been, up to date with their oversight function as regards, maybe compliance of operators in the sector?
Yeah, before now, their main assignment was on the airlines, but right. you can see them coming into road accidents, rail accidents, and all that because of the laws that were passed at the National Assembly. And when I saw their report yesterday, I was a kind of shocked with that kind of report because it is alarming that an organization can release such a report without proper investigation. I know there is no airline in Nigeria that can allow a pilot to fly without thorough check on issue of drugs or alcohol, But I don't know how they got their report. And are the airline pilots supposed to be relating with those carrying out the test? Because drug test does not take an hour to get the result. But if you watch the interview with the cabin crew and the co-pilot, you will know that there are things that are missing because
on the part of NSIB, right?
Yes, aviation sector is supposed to be a very serious sector. So any report you are releasing there should be a report that everyone can take as serious.
So according to them, I mean, they came up with that report after 2 months.
So you see,
of sample collections. I mean,
it is something that you can do in a day.
Yeah.
Look at the airline derailment. Till today, they have not released any report on that particular derailment.
Well,
okay.
If I could just speak to the due process.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the delight of any trial attorney, and I'm just going to punch holes in the report of the NISB or something.
NSIB.
Yes, because I don't think due process was properly followed, and especially when the individuals who allegedly consumed these products were being tested, and they raised an opposition as to the results of the test or the quality. A third independent verifiable test should have been done.
Immediately.
That was not done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run rings around them if this matter goes to court, and I was representing them. You don't threaten people's careers and long hours of investment into flying, and it's not cheap going to flying school or even the cabin in this aviation school.
Yeah.
So I think that the tests were not handled properly. As a matter of fact, like Doc was saying, you don't allow the person, alleged suspects, to be interfacing with the hospital or the test centers directly. Right. There's a tendency to corrupt the process. That's way. It should be independently done. It should be more than a test. They should have gotten a second opinion, because these guys have raised an issue, and there are loopholes there. And when you want to
coming out with a test, the outcome of the test 2 months after,
and they also did their own tests, which they submitted and said, "Look, I'm clean." So you have 2 tests now. Who do you believe? One from the regulator, so to speak, that did not have a third party to verify it, and one from the accused person who says, look, these results were also released by a medical institution and have been given a clean bill. So you see, they didn't nail the issues properly. And it raises serious
on that story and see
it raises serious questions. I mean,
because safety of
they shouldn't have run.
Safety is of priority.
They shouldn't have run to press. It's also part of scaremongering. I mean, you're damaging an airline, especially with our airlines being embroiled in one controversy over the other. Now, you want to buy a ticket and you're thinking of this particular airline and you're scared if your pilot is going to be drunk or not. It's a very serious indictment.
Let's move quickly. Leadership is next. Let's pull off, if we can pull off leadership, and let me bring you in this one. Patients panic as doctors strike hit hospitals. Sunday, speak on this one because we've been talking about, and we talk about doctors going on strike, and we've been talking about the more than 2 decades, and yet in 2025 we're still talking about the doctors, going on strike. How do we address this going forward?
Well, the truth is that we don't have standards in Nigeria. The doctors that are going on strike now, they are resident doctors. That is to say, doctors that have not spent years in the
in active service.
In active service, like consultants and all that, they don't go on strike like that because they are appropriately taken care of. They have their allowances and all that. But why are we not taking care of the resident doctors? So it shows very clearly that we are not serious in investing in the health sector, because you can't be building hospitals without training doctors, without giving them their allowances, without empowering them to do the job that they are supposed to do. The same doctors, if they move abroad, Nigerians that are going abroad for treatment, they are the ones treating them. But here in Nigeria, we are not taking good care of them. And that is why you see a lot of them, just moving out of the country, and it is causing problem.
I have a very simple answer. And the very simple answer is to make a law stopping the president or anybody in power, the minister, National Assembly.
Can we really ever stop?
Well, we can if we approach, if we adopt the Malaysian Lee Kuan Yew's approach, or even most of these Western. How many times have you seen Emmanuel Macron come to Nigeria to come and treat himself? If he comes here like the president goes to France, Emmanuel Macron will be out of a job. So here goes the president again going for medical vacation.
Debatable. I mean, you have the lawmakers, you have the executive. Yes. I mean, so who is going to make these laws? Who is going to pass it?
That's why I said it's a very simple thing. Once we're sincere enough to say, hey, no one is traveling out, we have to fix it. If we have another situation like we did with COVID, it's still the I am mighty who are going to die. We saw what happened. Majority of the people who died during COVID were the influential people. This thing does not affect poor people. They were always out in the sun. It's not, COVID didn't really hit the poor like the rich from the presidency. We had someone, the chief of staff passed away, politicians, this, that, even medical doctors, senior medical doctors, and captains of industries. So if we know we don't want that kind of situation where there's going to be a lockdown and we're all going to be in this mess which we need to fix, then we need to make that law that says if you are in power, you're a president, you're a deputy, you're this, you're a governor, you're this, you must sit down at home and fix it. I bet you if the president was treating himself in Nigeria and resident doctors have gone on strike like they have now, it will have resolved the problem.
Well, I will be waiting for, a National Assembly that could, of course, propose such laws.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the executive.
If you're not in government, and you're spending your money as an individual, fine. But if you're in government, you must lead by example. No traveling abroad for medical tourism. Sit down and fix the problem.
It's all right. But let's look at the Vanguard. Let's quickly look at the Vanguard. How Nigeria spent 981.5 billion on 7 polls. Holds one of the most expensive balloting globally. More funds, elections, gap. Less credible, the results. Corruption holding down our football. That's coming from Adoke and Miesimaka. I think that's on the front page of the Vanguard. Let's pull up quickly the Saturday Telegraph now. Coalition ADC to read Riot Act to undecided members. The riders say NWC meets next week, 6 to convince those still on the fence may decide on modalities for Congress's convention bid for 2026. Let's take another story there. A member, talking about MPC member, Naira may appreciated to 1,400 per dollar by year end. I need to bring you on these. Sunday would take, of course, the Vanguard, and of course, I need you to take these caller Lakbini. But let's start with you. Vanguard goes to you, Sunday, so we can run quickly. Corruption holding down our football, and of course, another story there talks about the fact that Nigeria is spending much on polls. Yes, these polls are less credible.
Yeah, you see, we have a very big challenge in Nigeria because of the leadership recruitment system. You know, many people who are seeking for political office, they are not there, they are not interested to serve. But because we have made political offices so juicy that people see political offices as a way of escaping their poverty. They don't think outside, you know, making money outside politics. And so that is why the election monitoring bodies,
right,
like INEC, they will have to spend a lot of money printing ballot papers, buying ballot boxes every 4 years, you know, trying to digitize the electoral processes. And the politicians themselves, they will always be looking at loopholes. So no matter how much you have spent, they don't care about how much you have spent. Their own is how they can win a particular election. And so even when the violators, you know, are caught, they are not prosecuted. In the last election, how many politicians were prosecuted? So, and that is why we will keep spending money if we are not prosecuting election those who are engaged on election malpractices.
All
you
right.
know, on the second story concerning our football and all that, you know, the recruitment processes, they are still flawed.
Okay.
Because,
Okay. Because
we don't go to villages to hunt for talent.
All right.
You know.
Sorry.
Okay, I want to bring you in on this one actually because
I
of
was
our time. We
hoping
need
I was
to
gonna
run
go on to the poll
ADC,
story. Yeah.
you know, to read Riot Act to undecided members, and that's what I want you to comment on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so that
That's
I
fine.
can run now.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're looking for members, aren't they? And they want they don't want members that are sitting on the fence.
Yes.
So that's why they're reading the Riot Act. Say, you come in here and
Either you
join
come
with
in
us,
or you go, because
you
we
go
still have members who claim to be members, but
Very
they belong
serious
to other
members.
political parties.
Yeah,
Yes.
and these are all part of the deeply flawed poll system which we're talking about.
Right.
I mean, the last elections was a huge sham, especially thinking of the huge amount of money that was budgeted into INEC, and INEC produced such a very, you know,
Long ballot
lackluster elections that were marred with elections, and that's what we're talking about. Almost $1 trillion naira spent on 7 polls in the last 24 years.
Right.
The quickest way to save costs is to go into electronic voting, electronic publication of the results, instant publication that same day.
Okay.
All the IREV and the whatever
Right.
they are talking, they should incorporate it into the law and make sure that we can do electronic transmission.
Let's quickly take 2 international news, headlines, and then we go. Daily Express, let's pull up Daily Express. Kemi, crisis heat, PM failing to tackle growing challenges. Prime Minister, talking about Prime Minister there. Starmer too distracted to deal with economic turmoil and Russian threat. And this particular Daily Mail talked about the Charlie Kirk murder and suspected assassin turned in by father. But Trump is saying that killer deserves the death penalty. Let's do 10 seconds on this one as I let you go now.
Well, I think the U.S. president is preempting the justice machinery. He should allow the suspect to have his day in court. I like the fact that it was the suspects that turned him in.
His father?
Oh, yes. His dad turned him in. You know, he wouldn't condone such thing under his roof. That's a proud father moment.
Yeah.
Also, I think well, my condolences to the family of Charlie Kirk and everything. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he says and his debates and all that, but a human life was lost. Children lost their dad. Your wife lost their husband. And may his soul rest in peace.
10 seconds.
It's quite unfortunate, but then the young people should just know that, yes, they can deeply involve in politics. And then the suspect, once investigation are concluded, and he's found guilty, then the law should take its course.
Thank you so much. Kola Lakpini is an international human rights lawyer, and Sunday Suwa, Group News Editor, Leadership Newspaper. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Well, and that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I am Frank Komalapes. Goodbye from me. Please keep it here on Arise News.